The rain had just begun to fall over the glowing skyline of the city when something extraordinary happened on a quiet late-night bus. No one noticed the moment at first. No one realized that a tired woman, dressed in worn clothes and carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders, had unknowingly leaned her head against the shoulder of one of the richest men in the country. But what happened after that small, accidental moment would change both of their lives forever. Before we continue, if you believe that kindness can change someone's life, that second chances are real, and that even the smallest act of compassion can create miracles, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in humanity, subscribe to the channel, and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. Your support helps these powerful stories reach more hearts around the world. Her name was Emily Carter, a 28-year-old single mother who had learned far too early that life was not always fair. The dark circles under her eyes told a story of sleepless nights, unpaid bills, and endless worry. Her son, Noah Carter, was only 6 years old, but he was already the center of her fragile universe. Every choice she made, every sacrifice she endured, revolved around him. Emily once had dreams that stretched far beyond the cramped apartment she now called home. Years ago, she had imagined graduating from college, building a career in nursing, and giving her future family a comfortable life. But those dreams shattered the day Noah's father disappeared, leaving behind nothing but broken promises and mounting debts. From that moment forward, Emily became both mother and father to her child. Her days were a relentless cycle of exhaustion. She worked 2 jobs, cleaning offices during the day and serving tables at a small diner at night. Her hands were often raw from cleaning chemicals, and her feet ached constantly from standing for hours. Yet every night, when she returned home and saw Noah sleeping peacefully in their tiny room, she reminded herself that the struggle was worth it. Still, the world rarely showed mercy. Rent was overdue again. The landlord had already left 2 warnings taped to her door. The electricity bill sat unopened on the kitchen counter because Emily already knew she couldn't afford it. The refrigerator held little more than a carton of milk and a few slices of bread. But the worst news came 3 days earlier. Noah had fallen sick at school. His teacher called Emily, saying he had fainted during recess. The doctor later explained that Noah needed a special treatment for a condition that required regular medication that cost more than Emily earned in a month. That night, after putting Noah to bed, Emily cried quietly in the bathroom so he wouldn't hear her. She had never felt so powerless. On the evening our story begins, Emily had just finished her shift at the diner. It was nearly midnight, and the rain had begun to fall heavily across the city streets. Her manager had reluctantly allowed her to leave early after noticing how pale and exhausted she looked. Instead of taking a taxi, which she couldn't afford, Emily walked several blocks to catch the last city bus. Her body felt like it might collapse at any moment. When the bus finally arrived, it was nearly empty. The soft hum of the engine mixed with the rhythmic tapping of rain against the windows. The dim yellow lights inside made everything look tired and faded. Emily slowly climbed aboard and sat near the middle of the bus. She didn't notice the man sitting beside her. Most people wouldn't recognize him outside the glossy pages of business magazines or television interviews. Dressed simply in a dark coat, he looked like any other quiet passenger traveling home late at night. But this man was Alexander Sterling. At 36 years old, Alexander Sterling was the billionaire founder and CEO of Sterling Innovations, one of the fastest-growing technology companies in the world. His name was associated with luxury skyscrapers, groundbreaking technology, and an empire worth billions. Yet at that moment, none of that mattered. Alexander had chosen to take the bus that night for a reason he rarely admitted even to himself. Sometimes he liked stepping away from the world of private cars, security teams, and flashing cameras. It reminded him what ordinary life looked like. But even he was not prepared for what would happen next. Emily tried to stay awake as the bus slowly rolled through the rainy streets, but exhaustion wrapped around her like a heavy blanket. Her eyelids grew heavier with each passing minute. The warmth inside the bus contrasted sharply with the cold rain outside. Before she even realized it, her head slowly tilted to the side. And then it rested gently against Alexander Sterling's shoulder. If she had been awake, Emily would have immediately pulled away in embarrassment. But sleep had already claimed her completely. Her breathing became slow and steady, the deep sleep of someone who had pushed themselves far beyond their limits. Alexander froze. For a brief moment, surprise crossed his face. A stranger, an exhausted woman he had never met, was sleeping on his shoulder. He could have moved away. He could have woken her up. But he didn't. Instead, something unexpected happened inside him. He noticed how thin her coat was for such cold weather. He noticed the faint bruise on her wrist, the kind that comes from carrying heavy bags day after day. He noticed how tightly her hands clutched a small, worn backpack, as if it contained everything important in her life. And then he noticed something else. A small drawing stuck halfway out of the bag. It was clearly made by a child. A simple picture drawn with crayons showed a smiling woman holding hands with a small boy under a bright yellow sun. Above them, written in uneven letters, were the words, "My mom is my hero." Alexander stared at the drawing for a long moment. Something about it stirred a memory deep inside him, a memory of his own childhood, long before the wealth and fame. A time when his own mother had worked 2 jobs to keep their family afloat after his father died. He had not thought about those days in years. The bus continued moving through the quiet city streets as rain streamed down the windows. Emily remained asleep, her head resting gently against his shoulder, completely unaware of who she was leaning on. For the first time in a very long while, Alexander Sterling felt something unfamiliar. Not power. Not ambition. But humility. The bus driver eventually slowed near the final stop of the route. Only a few passengers remained now. The driver glanced back briefly, noticing the unusual scene of the sleeping woman and the silent man beside her. Alexander carefully adjusted his position so Emily wouldn't wake up. Minutes passed. Then something slipped from her bag onto the floor. Alexander leaned down and picked it up. It was a folded medical document. He hesitated for a moment before looking at the page. Normally, he would never invade someone's privacy like that. But something told him this wasn't an ordinary situation. His eyes scanned the paper. And what he read made his heart tighten. The document described a medical treatment plan for a young boy named Noah Carter, age 6. It listed medication costs, hospital visits, and a payment amount so large it would crush any struggling parent. Alexander slowly looked at Emily again. This woman wasn't just tired. She was fighting a battle most people would never survive. The bus reached the final stop, but Alexander still didn't wake her. Instead, he quietly told the driver he would take care of it. Outside, the rain continued pouring over the city. Inside the dim bus, a billionaire sat silently beside a poor single mother who had no idea that her life was about to change forever. But the most shocking part of this story hadn't happened yet. Before we reach the ending of this episode, we want to ask something special. If this story is touching your heart so far, write the word kindness in the comments. It helps more people discover stories like this and reminds the world that compassion still exists. Because in the next episode, Emily Carter will wake up and realize whose shoulder she has been sleeping on. And when she discovers what Alexander Sterling decides to do for her and her son Noah, it will leave everyone speechless. And if this story moved you even a little, please like the video, share it with someone who believes in humanity, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next episode. Sometimes the smallest moments, like a tired mother falling asleep on a stranger's shoulder, can lead to the biggest miracles.